All right, so there's one nonprofit company called the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And if you're not familiar with it, basically what they do is they try and grant wishes, which are experiences or gifts for kids who have terminal diseases, right? So they try and say if the kid wishes to go to Disneyland or to meet a celebrity, they're the ones that arrange for something like that to happen before the kid gets too ill to do it. So in this company, you can imagine it's a lot of emotional work, right? It takes a really hard toll on people, and it's a nonprofit. So clearly these people aren't really in it for the money. So they were trying to find a way to really reconnect people or to really emphasize why it was that they did the work that they did. And they did a really small thing. It was something that didn't cost any money, but the CEO of one branch in Michigan said, okay, everyone is going to be able to choose their own job titles from now on, right? And try and choose something that represents why it is that you do the work that you do. Right, so some people might be the fairy godmother of greetings or something like that when she was just kind of the secretary or the administrative assistant before. Right, so the reason why people do things, they were able to put it right there on their name card. And it was an interesting conversation starter, but also every time they went to their office and they saw what it was, they said, okay, this is why I'm here. This is the meaning behind what I do and why I show up for work every day. Small thing, but something that reconnected them with the reason why they chose it in the beginning. All right, sometimes we just need to be reminded. There's also a famous story in NASA, right, back in the day, whenever the space race was really hot in the 1960s, and they had a janitor in the middle of the day who was mopping when everyone was trying to work. And the director of NASA goes down the hall and he's very mad. He's like, why are you doing this right now? You should be doing this at night. So he was just very frustrated, like, what are you doing? And without missing a beat, the janitor says, I'm putting a man on the moon, right? Someone had reframed the context of what he was doing and said, you are a part of something larger. You're a part of something that means more than just this one task that you happen to be doing. Right? And so there's a lot of stories like this, but there's a cautionary tale involved in this. And that is, if you try and do this yourself, a lot of times it'll backfire. Right? I'll give you another example. There was a telemarketing company that was working on this. They had, it's a really boring job. Basically, all day long, you're calling people and asking for donations. So you're calling people and asking for money. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of one of these calls, all you want to do is hang up on these people, right? They're bothering you, they're wasting your time. And so a lot of times people who work in these call centers, they get yelled at, they get hung up on. It's not a fun job to do. Right? So they had very high turnover in this one center. And so they said, okay, well, maybe it's about, making them feel like their job is meaningful. Maybe it's about, connecting them with their purpose. And so the manager at the time, he said he heard all these tons of stories and he gave them a big speech. And he said, what you're doing is not just asking for money. What you're doing is really something more. You have a bigger purpose. And together we are, raising lots of money that can have a lot of good effects on the world, right? Something really passionate and trying to sell them on this idea that what they did mattered and that it had a bigger purpose. And what happened is that performance went down even further, right? Turnover got even worse. Why? Because people are skeptical. If your boss stands up in front of you and says, oh, what you do really matters, or you're making a big difference, people know what's up, right? They say, okay, you want me to work harder. You just want me to make you look good. You want me to make you more money. I'm not going to buy it, right? So they tried something different, and it was something that was ultimately very effective. What they did is they said, okay, what exactly are we calling getting donations for? And it turned out they worked for a university, and they were getting donations that funded that university scholarship program. So they said, why don't we get someone who actually got one of these scholarships just to come in and talk and say whatever they want to our employees, right? So the scholarship recipient came in and said, thank you all for the work that you do. I know it's probably very annoying, but I can tell you how much it made a difference in my life, right? I always dreamed of going to this school. My mom and dad went to this school. Without this scholarship, I couldn't have afforded it. And I just wanted to say thank you. And that little act made them stay much longer on the phones. They raised a ton more money for the university, and it was actually a threefold chance in terms of how much they were spending in terms of time and number of calls and the amount that they ended up raising. All right, so why did this work? It was essentially the same message that their boss had said, but coming from an actual objective person, right? Coming from an objective person that benefited from the work that they did. All right, so if you break this down on a psychological level, the way that we can really connect people to their purpose, and again, this can be something that could be useful for motivating your employees,